Welcome to the Unblock Your Business podcast. I'm Abby Rogers, success coach, business coach and hypnotherapist, and I help high achievers and business leaders master their subconscious habits for success, income goals and, above all, happiness. But success isn't just about mindset or strategy. It's about combining both and sealing the deal with a big dose of subconscious alignment, because our subconscious holds the true key to unlocking our potential. Let's dive in and look at how you can show up bigger, better and more uniquely aligned in life and business today. Well, hello, here we are, already halfway through the first month of 2022. And just to be a little bit different, because I always like to buck the trend, I decided to not cram in a big review episode at the end of last year, but just to wait until now to share my 5 biggest lessons of 2021. Because, these things just take some thinking about, don't they? And also, to be completely honest, I wanted to have a proper break over Christmas this year. So it seemed like the perfect opportunity to just share some wonderful guest expert episodes with you instead, let you digest those. And I think that's been really useful because it's given you some nice chunky strategic lessons to dive into and get your teeth into over the festive break. And it's meant I've been able to step back and have a little bit of a break this year myself. And we'll get onto that one in a bit more detail in a moment or two, because that's kind of part of one of my really big lessons this year. So looking back over the past year, I just really can't believe where time has gone in many ways. It seems to just fly by, doesn't it? Recapping quickly, this time last year I had no podcast at all. That didn't start until the very end of May or the beginning of June. I think I decided to just take that plunge. Where I was, I'd just done an exhausting launch for my membership, which basically left me careering into Christmas with a head full of whether people were going to sign up or not, and really unable to relax properly. It was quite exciting to be doing that, but I was definitely running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So that felt like a really big lesson for me. And I think, if we're honest, I didn't really feel at that point like I had a successful, sustainable business. It still felt very touch and go and more go, if I am completely honest. So I'd been, by that point, in the online space for 6 months. I'd had my hypnotherapy practice for a good couple of years before that. That started in 2017, and I've been working for myself and running my own 6-figure business before that for many years. That started in 2007, but the online space was quite a new thing for me at that point. And what I'd done is to walk away from the face-to-face side of my hypnotherapy business and start working online instead, and moving into the entrepreneurial space and bringing in coaching. And by that point, by that 6 months in, I'd worked with a coach who had given me lots of tools to market my business online more successfully. But by that point, I really was still not seeing the benefits of that investment at all. No fault of that coach, no fault of mine either. It's just that success in business and building a sustainable business in particular rarely happens overnight, especially online. Despite what you might hear promised, it takes time to build that business and to get it consistently turning over a reliable income. And whilst I had some great tools there, I still didn't have great clarity on exactly what I was offering or how to communicate that. I knew what I did and I knew what I was great at doing deep down, but there was a lot of confusion there, a lot of confusing messages about how exactly I should be marketing that. My head was basically exploding, and it took lots more coaching and a lot of personal mindset shifts and light bulb moments for that to suddenly ping into place. So I was very hung up at that point on trying to pigeonhole my business, because that is where my coaching and everything that I'd been learning in the online space had led me to, basically. So I had this impression then that the more niche I became in terms of promising just one really specific outcome, the easier it would be to get clients. But everything in me was rebelling against that at the same time, because I didn't want to just be a money mindset coach or just be a business coach or just help people get over their imposter syndrome or their visibility struggles. I didn't want to just tie myself to one thing. Firstly, because I know people don't just struggle with one of those things. It's not how we work. We're not compartmentalized as human beings. We have many, many different things going on at the same time, and they all play into each other. So it's not just one of those things in isolation that bothers people. It's usually the whole lot. And I didn't feel good just promising one outcome. And secondly, the thought of just helping people achieve one specific thing forevermore kind of bored me to tears. So as you can see, there's a lot of resistance there. There was a big struggle between what I thought I should be doing and what I actually wanted to do. And thank goodness, eventually I came to my senses. So I'm just going to chalk that one up as my first and probably biggest lesson of the year, which is to trust your gut and trust what you want to do. So as soon as I stopped wrestling with that internal struggle and just did what I bloomin' well felt like, everything changed. And what I have realised since, is that I am my niche. I don't have to fit into a niche. I am one. I'm making one as I go. I don't have to fit in anyone's neatly shaped box or appear on this like checklist of entrepreneurial coaches. When you read those promo threads and there are like 56 people promising to help you overcome your money blocks and they're all saying pretty much the same thing. I don't have to be one of them to still help my clients with that and with so much more. And that was a really liberating realization. Now, nowadays, I do exactly what I like because I know that my ideal clients don't want a carbon copy coach either. And they really love what I do and they love my unique take on things. So I guess the second part of that whole lesson is that it just takes time to figure your business out and to evolve your niche. And that's okay. You can go very niche from the beginning, and that will help you if you feel really comfortable with that niche, and if you can focus everything on making that work and speak to that one particular ideal client, then yeah, it is a great marketing strategy. It's just if you don't particularly align with that as a person and you don't quite know what that niche should be for you, then it's okay for it to evolve and it's okay for you to figure it out as it goes along. So I experimented with being that money mindset coach. I experimented with being that business coach. I experimented with being a straight up mindset coach. I realized that I am none and yet at the same time all of those things. And it was only by dipping my toes into the water and trying things and playing about with offers and working with real life clients that I finally figured out what I absolutely excel at and what my kind of thing is, if you like. It's a bit like trying on clothes. You've got to try on a lot of pair of jeans in your life before you find that perfect fit and realise what really, really suits you. Although sometimes they were right there in that very first shop you ever went in. So building a successful business is about continually evolving, challenging yourself and trying new things until you find what works. A great coach can definitely help you speed through that process and pull out your magic formula for you much more quickly. But you still got to kind of go through it to get that clarity. A lot of us have to go through this mill of working out what it is that we are absolutely best at. And attached to every failure, every flop along the way, there will be a really, really valuable lesson about what doesn't work for you. So those mistakes, those failures, if you like, those things that you've tried that haven't worked so well are absolutely invaluable. So if you're currently thinking, this just isn't working, then don't give up. Just keep trying to figure it out. Get a coach if you feel that you need help or if your mindset is just not in the right place. It will come together if you keep at it. I believe in you. Case in point, we are midway through January now, and already I've earned more than I earned in my whole first quarter last year just through my one-to-one client bookings alone. And that is just because I am now super clear on my messaging. I know exactly who I'm for and who I'm not for, and I'm completely confident that those clients are out there for me. I know now that I'm only interested in working with seriously ambitious people who like to prove themselves and regularly bite off more than they can chew, or love to regularly scare themselves witless. People a lot like I used to be, basically. And I know that big dreams really excite me. There is nothing I love more than a client who has a massive vision for their business, but not a shred of belief that they can do it. Those are my people. Those are the people that I can really do wonders for. I now also know that I am not about trying to convince anybody who isn't ready to invest in my coaching. And I am never going to get anyone on a sales call again to try and persuade them of anything. And that is a huge weight off my mind as well. My third lesson then, this one has to be that you have to slow down to speed up. So as you'll have noticed at the start of the episode, I talked about how I spent the run up to Christmas last year frantically trying to set up the relaunch for my membership, writing emails, making sure I was posting all over the place. Then between Christmas and New Year, I was checking in with how many signups I'd had or hadn't had and keeping my fingers crossed for more. It was not relaxing. So I have a feeling it may have been around then that I decided to just stop going at full pelt all the time and actually plan things properly rather than just diving straight into my next bright idea. There is often something to be said for just jumping in there and doing things on the spur of the moment, but what you have to make sure of is that you're not just overcomplicating things and jamming your life full to the brim with impossible tasks, just overloading yourself. Now, I was really excited to launch the membership back then. Relaunch, should I say, because it had been going for a while. But for some reason, I decided I had to do it there and then, rather than just parking it until I was really ready. And I think that reason was fear. So back then, my income wasn't great. I wasn't seeing the one-to-one inquiries that I'd hoped for rolling in. So I think there was an element of this lovely distraction that this would bring in some revenue, and also that I just wanted to be feeling like a success at something. And I think in retrospect it was totally the right thing to do, because my membership has been amazing and it's going from strength to strength. It's evolving again and is fantastic now. But I think where it wasn't so great was cramming it into an already overpacked to-do list, and not giving myself any breathing space, and maybe focusing on something at the time that wasn't really going to make or break my business in terms of revenue. So what changed was a decision instead to start thinking about what I actually wanted to achieve in my business quarter by quarter, being more strategic about it, making midterm plans rather than just jumping in on the spur of the moment. So that meant things like planning in holidays, making provisions to get things done in advance so I could actually enjoy my time off, and just picking 2 or 3 really key big items to tick off the to-do list in any given quarter. And what that's really allowed me to do is focus and have wonderful perspective, to slow down and make sure there is time to get the important stuff done, the things that really will drive those inquiries in the longer term and help my business actually make strategic progress rather than just flitting from thing to thing and getting nowhere really. And it's most definitely made life easier and my business much, much stronger and more profitable. Another really key thing for me has been consciously leveling up in terms of who I'm hanging out with. So this is my 4th big lesson of the year. This is one of those things where you definitely have to listen to your own advice sometimes. I know from my work that anxiety breeds anxiety, positivity breeds positivity in other people. So who we hang out with massively influences our state of mind. I know that other people's preconceptions about money and clients and ease will influence our own perceptions of those same things. But it's one of those things, again, that can be hard to see when you're in it. And this year has really been testament to that for me. So I wasn't feeling great about money or my ability to earn it earlier last year. So I made a conscious decision back then to move away from groups, memberships, and people whose views didn't align with where I wanted to be, or who made me feel triggered or anxious, or like it was a big, desperate fight to compete for clients. And I think that decision came about because I did some money mindset work myself. And I recognised that I was still really struggling with the concept of it being okay to earn good money and still be a nice person, because those two things are not mutually exclusive. Yes, you totally can have both. Let's just say if people are struggling with you because you have ambitions to earn a certain level of income, it's not your mindset problem. So I had this big wobble at the beginning of 2021 where I panicked over the name of my free Facebook group and my membership because they talked about 6 figures, and I thought that people might think badly of me for that. Having seen a few negative comments in groups and on other people's feeds on Facebook, and now I realised that I was changing what I was putting out there in my business to try and please those people who probably weren't even my ideal clients anyway. And as a result of that, I was repelling some of the seriously ambitious people that I did want to attract. Now, I am not saying that if you don't want to earn 6 figures, you're not seriously ambitious, not at all. But I was definitely cutting off a good chunk of my audience, my potential clients. Now, I don't mention money in the titles of my groups now because I don't think it's necessary, and I know that my ideal clients are way more sophisticated than just thinking it's all about the money anyway. They recognise that there is so much more to a truly successful business. But the point is that this was a massive barrier, and as soon as I stopped listening to those negative comments and hanging out in places where those kinds of comments were rife, and started hanging out with people who were more attuned with believing that high-level income and achievement was a really positive thing, my own perception shifted massively, and it became much easier for me to feel comfortable earning more. We are tribal creatures after all. We always want to fit in with our tribe, whoever that may be. And the wonderful thing is that none of my real tribe, none of my close friends and family have been anything but supportive, because they know who I am anyway. They know that it's not all about the money for me, and they've been just wonderful, really. So the last thing is more of that practice what you preach thing. My 5th takeaway from last year is that mindset really is everything. And that feels so obvious because that's been my journey all the way along. And that's what I've been constantly saying to people all the way along. But I just feel like I am like living proof of the pudding. So 2021 was the year it all came together for me strategically. And everything slotted into place. I knew what I was doing and I knew what I needed to do. But very simply, even having that strategic foundation, I would still not be where I am now if I hadn't continued to up-level my mindset throughout last year. Now, I don't mind admitting that back at the beginning of the year, I was right there in what we often hear of referred to as scarcity mindset or lack mindset. I was also right there in stubbornness mindset, I can tell you. I'm a mindset coach who helps people with their self-belief so they can achieve unbelievable things. Therefore, I must completely believe in myself, right? That's how it should go. Well, yes and no. So I did believe in my vision. I did believe that it was possible for coaches to be successful, to be fully booked with clients and earn fantastic money. I was seeing people doing that. But I think I believed that I believed in myself without really believing I could actually make it happen for me, if that makes sense. Probably not at all, but that's fine. So back then, I was up against all the evidence in front of me, which was that I was barely scraping by each month. And no matter how much we want something, it's really hard to fully believe it until we see it actually happening in our reality, which is where people like me can help you bridge the gap. So it's one of those chicken and egg things. Until you see it happening, you can't really believe it. Until you see that money coming into your business that you've been striving for, you can't really believe it's true, or it's really hard to believe it. But you don't see it happen until you fully believe it. So the belief thing, in a way, has to come first. Or the belief thing in quite a big way has to come first, actually. Because your brain keeps seeking to recreate the reality that it's seeing every single day. And it's like it won't give you the keys to unlock the door to level up, to achieve your next level, until it thinks you're already in the room. So frustrating. So I did a lot of work on my own money mindset and my self-belief this year. I worked with another coach who helped me to ask the questions that I was neglecting to ask myself and pushed me to see things that I wasn't seeing for myself. And that's what a great coach will do. And every coach needs a coach, no matter how good you are as a coach, no matter how much you know about mindset, no matter how much you can help other people change. To do it for yourself is much more of a difficult thing. So I worked with this coach, and then I put in place all the things I already knew that I needed to put in place to reduce my anxiety around money and support my brain's ability to imagine and believe in and create that new picture of how I wanted that reality to look. And bit by bit, I gradually convinced my brain that this was totally happening. And my perception of the world and the way it worked has completely changed as a result. So the past couple of months, just for example, I've pretty much stepped away from social media, other than the odd few posts on my profile and in my groups. So I'm putting out content, but I'm saving so much time and energy not chasing clients in other people's groups, for example. And that for a long time felt like something that I had to do if ever I wanted a successful business. And now it just feels like it's completely unnecessary for me. And I've shifted my mindset now to a place where I don't have to think about believing anymore. I'm not trying to believe, I just have that belief. I just know the right clients are out there for me, and I know that the income I want is going to be coming my way. And that's very different to knowing what you want to believe and trying to believe it, which is where I was before. And I know that when I put posts out now, that they are speaking to exactly the right people, and they are hearing that message and going, yeah, I need to work with you. That sounds a bit bonkers, and I would never have believed that it was possible to feel that way a few months ago, but it absolutely is. And it's when you're just in that place of absolute knowing and trusting that it's going to happen that your brain starts to go, okay, game on, let's make this happen then. So the moment I had that kind of belief, I started getting all sorts of cool insights. So I just knew all of a sudden exactly what kind of program to create to speak to those awesome women and men that I wanted to work with. My new 8-week one-to-one program was born, and as soon as I posted about it, I had a flurry of inquiries and positive responses. And I was just sitting there going like, why could I not think of this a few months ago when I really, really needed it? And the answer is basically because my brain just wasn't there. It wasn't looking to create that reality for me where it was easy to come up with a program that would sell and make those sales. I was stuck in this place of stress and anxiety. So I just wanted to, or my subconscious brain wanted to keep recreating the barely scraping by reality that I was thinking about all the time. So the insights and ideas it kept giving me back then were designed to keep creating more of barely scraping by, which was not so helpful. Thanks, brain. So eventually we got to where we wanted to be. So there we have it. Our brains really are out to get us, unless we know how to stop them. And it's been quite a revelation doing that work for myself. So I hope that has been helpful today for you. Incidentally, if you're listening to this on its release date, which is Monday the 17th of January, I'm running a series of posts over in my personal Facebook group to help you get into a more positive, client-attracting, income-generating kind of frame of mind. This is not an official business group. This is just my personal space where I hang out with a lot of ambitious women who really want to create wonderful things in their lives, sharing a bit of the magic with them. So this group is called Unapologetic, a community for women who mean business. And you are very welcome to join us and see what happens for you. And of course, if you'd like to find out more about that one-to-one program or my mastermind program, then just take a look at the show notes for details of how to get in touch. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful week. Yeah, I really hope you've picked up some valuable insights from today's podcast. So do get in touch and let me know. Let me know what's really resonated with you or what's helped you to make a little bit of a shift in your thinking today. Take care. See you soon. Bye. Thanks for listening. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, it would be incredible if you could pop a review on iTunes, Google, Spotify, or your favourite podcast platform. And if you want to dive deeper, you can find me in my Facebook group Unblock Your Business or at www.unblockyourbusiness.com.